check the credentials. You lack the literacy for this level. Listen, niggas doing their best, trying to best me try. Keep failing the test, got no pedigree. Psuedokillas, top dog versus ticks and fleas. Get them off me, trendsetters, everybody follow me. I'll make you beg for your life, praying on your knees. Little dudes ain't on my level, too hot, 33 degrees. That's boiling, just so cold with it, watching niggas freeze. Ice, psycho, bleed, flip, flamin', nigga, please stop. Got everybody talking science, but they can barely read. I said the ignorance is like a fucking disease. I'm really starting to question the mental capacity. High school dropouts wanna compete with me. After class, get your weight up, it's so long, don't know where I'll be. Trying to retrofit the data just to match a prophecy. Nonsense, claiming ancient secrets, but it's really just a week. Hard to learn a lesson when you're dying just to breathe. Page, class dismissed. Top floor view, stay grounded. Ain't hard when you sit at the top. Give you if you're coming for the stars. The missiles ain't got the target on lock. Don't play grounded in my game, steady as the rock. Ain't hard when you sit at the top. Give you if you're coming for the stars. Missiles ain't got the target on lock. Grounded in my game, steady as a rock. Solid. What's your ideology? Can somebody explain to me why all this blackology? Is this the culture's community? Every discussion rooted in blackology, fueled by the lack of basic integrity. Case in point, you know who I mean. High level foolery, dress up as a dream. Nostalgia trap, always reliving history, but missing the method, no consistency. Name drops heavy just to spark up the flame. But scholarship ain't just remembering names. Smoking mirrors, performance, artistry, debate, turn feeding my intellectual honesty. You say build, but what are you building really? If it's not grounded, it's just sounding silly. What's your ideology? Can somebody explain to me why all this blackology? Is this the conscious community? Confusion rising, no clarity, just noise wrapped in false authority. What's your ideology? Yeah, somebody explain this bit. Promoting theaters with no accountability. Cherry pick claim just as credibility. Confirmation bias, that's the strategy. Ignore the data, rewrite reality. Call yourself a scholar, that's a travesty. Is the method lesson? That's not mastery. You can't read plain sight. Culturally, the call it truth. That's not how it be. Start saying all this mythology. That's the
Morning. Good morning. It's a rainy day here in Washington, Eastern Caribbean. How's everybody doing? Chris in the chat, appreciate you, my brother. I'm doing a quick little drive-by. You see a couple of people back in there. Don't forget to subscribe to my channel. I'll be doing some set talks over here. My prep round early in the morning to get ready to go live with you. My presentation together, and address some of the things I feel that are bothering me. I know what's going on with the community. I'll be right back after the intro.
Yeah. Welcome to Set Talks, where we separate fact from fiction. Method of a myth every time. This that set talk, yeah, we set it straight. Cut through the noise, elevate the debate. No pseudo talk, no foggy claims. Just evidence-based when we build these frames. Set talks, yeah, clarity first. If it ain't got method, it probably won't work. From ancient knowledge to modern science, we draw that line. Clear, fine. They say the ancients had science. Hold up. Pause. Knowledge ain't the same. This methodology ain't the same. This methodology, yeah. Control test rare. No predictive models. You gotta be no predictive models. We respect the past, but we respect that past. Precision matters when you deal with facts. Astronomy of proof. Astronomy proof. One state empirical. One living. The shift came through naturalistic method. Just analyze. That's how we embed it. Not culture bound. Not tied to a place. It's a universal tool for the human race. This is it. Universal tool for the human race. Cut through the noise. Elevate the debate. No pseudo talk. No phony claim. Just does it in space. When we build these friends. Just they talk. Yeah, clarity first. If it ain't God, it probably won't work. From energy, knowledge, to modern science. From draw that line, that clear defiance. They blood definition. Start moving the goalpost. Turn pride to a claim that don't call close. Science ain't on. This a process refined. Independent of culture, space and time. You can't redefine it to fit identity. That's how you lose all epistemic integrity. We test every claim, we don't just believe. If it can't be verified, we don't receive. From early observers to labs today, it's rigor and doubt that paved the way. Not name dropping scholars to win and debate, but data and method that validate. So what's your ideology? That's cool to ask, but truth ain't decided by the loudest class. We question it all, no sacred ground. If it don't hold up, we break it down. This that set off, yeah, we live in direct. No fear in the facts, just intellectual respect. No more, no mirror, no fantasy, just truth, logic, and consistency.
Yes. We are back at it again. Ladies and gentlemen, science is methodological naturalism. Science is a product of the 17th century and beyond. It has its roots, it has its origin, but it simply is what it is. You cannot push it back any further. You cannot use practices within the scientific method to claim that people were practicing science. Science is a particular philosophical framework, and within that framework, you have operating systems. Natural philosophy is a framework, and within that framework, you have operating systems. Distinct concepts requires a change in thinking, a paradigm shift. So, without further ado, let's get into the presentation and address some of the claims that we keep hearing in the community. People are entertaining this conversation without the prerequisite background knowledge, and you can see it in their diet. It is obvious as day. All right, let's get into this. The claim: Thales practiced methodological naturalism. I don't need to play the clip, but it is a statement made. Thales practiced methodological naturalism. Now, let's examine that claim. This is historically misleading. And this is the disingenuousness I talk about. I can hear you're not ready for the conversation, you're not prepared for the conversation. And instead of sitting back and understanding it, you enter the conversation from a rudimentary surface level and attach buzzwords into all the overwhooping, which is just indicative of you're not grounded in the subject. Because Thales of Miletus, 6th century BCE, lived in a completely different intellectual framework than we now call methodological naturalism. Okay, let's face it. Thales was a natural philosopher, not a methodological naturalist, aka scientist. Natural philosophy in ancient context, early attempts to explain the world using natural causes instead of myth. Indeed, we're going to see what that is. No formal method, no controlled experiments, no institutional science. Still embedded in speculative reasoning and sometimes metaphysical assumptions. Is this resemble anything we do in science? No, it does. Example. Oh, I bet. Thales claim that water is the fundamental substance, the archie of reality. Everything you see is made out of water. But how do you explain the rock then, Thales? Uh, uh, Evaporation, condensation. That's not science. That's philosophical speculation about reality. You sit in a discussion with me and bring up Thales, the famous claim, all things are full of gods. Is this methodological naturalism? No. The statement is attributed to Thales of Miletus by later writers like Aristotle. What does it mean? It is often interpreted as a kind of proto-panpsychism. Everything has some life or soul-like quality. Or heliosomes. Matter itself is alive. In other words, nature isn't dead, it's animated, active, infused with something divine. This is not methodological naturalism in the slightest sense of the word. More of Thales' claims. No personal God. He moved away from that. No mythological narrative. Unlike traditional Greek religions, there's no stories of Zeus throwing lightning bolt, no divine genealogy, no ritual theology. Instead, Thales shifted towards impersonal divinity. Is that methodological naturalism embedded within nature itself? This is a huge conceptual move away from myth, but we're not there yet by a long shot. When you hear the barber over there, he practiced methodological naturalism based on a false narrative created by someone who shouldn't be entertaining this conversation. Let's be honest. You're not at a level. You shouldn't be entertaining conversation. But yet you interject with all kind of non sequiturs and make it seem as if in the 6th century BCE, methodological naturalism was being practiced. Further, the conversation keep moving the goalposts. It was some sort of kind of maybe he did he was the father. No, he wasn't. We are looking at where conceptual things start to change. And in that conceptual change, he went from personal God, no personal gods, no mythological narratives, to nature itself being divine. That's not methodological naturalism. There's no systematic testing. There is no model. What are you talking about? How do you make Thales practicing methodological naturalism? The magnet example, soul is matter. Thales reportedly said a magnet has a soul because it moves iron. You know why this is crucial? Movement equals life or soul. Therefore, even an inanimate object may possess psyche, soul-like properties. This reinforces the idea that the world is internally animated, not externally controlled by gods, but not methodological naturalism by a long shot. By a long shot. This is philosophy 101. He is reasoning and using his rationality. Methodological naturalism, on the other hand, is a system developed much later in the 17th and the 19th century. Right? Figures like Isaac Newton, Francis Bacon, these are who developed methodological naturalism. And conceptually, it is not one boom, hit a switch and it's there. It's ideas building upon ideas that are grounded and rooted in reality. Requires systematic observation, controlled experimentation, mathematical modeling, exclusion of the supernatural as an explanation, uh, exclusion of supernatural explanations as a working method. Methodological naturalism is not just natural explanations, it's a structured epistemology. So now that I've introduced the word, here we go again, as if y'all can make it up, do whatever with this particular word as well. No, that's crazy. That's completely crazy. Let's continue. The barbershop boys are committing historical projection, anachronism, taking a modern concept and retroactively applying it to ancient thinkers. They weren't there. Stop it. That's an anachronism. So now let's compare. Ancient natural philosophy, 500 BC, is speculative. Methodological naturalism is systematic. No formal method, defined methodology. No experimental rigor. We have an experimental framework mixed with metaphysics, methodologically constrained to natural causes, natural explanation. Distinct philosophical frameworks. They are distinct. They cannot be compared. They cannot be used interchangeably. Natural philosophy is not methodological naturalism. So now at least we are starting to talk about frameworks here. Let's continue. Thales didn't practice methodological naturalism. He helped move away from it, but he lacked the methodological structure that defines science. Calling him a methodological naturalist is like calling alchemy chemistry. It confuses historical development with conceptual identity. And this is what is a chef and the barbershop boys are doing. This is what they're doing, confusing the conversation. What's up, ghouls? Don't forget, hit that like button. Subscribe. We have to do some teaching because these boys are slow. To know, chef, at no point in time was Thales practicing methodological naturalism. Cedric was freaking. No, Cedric was embarrassed for the good brother. And you now gone and making a whole spectacle, put him on display. That's how you throw someone under the bus 101. Let's continue. Philosophical naturalism, ancient. The ancient form, not what is practiced today or what is conceptualized today. Ancient form of philosophical naturalism, which we know is natural philosophy, seen in early thinkers like Thales of Miletus and Democritus, attempts to explain the world in terms of natural substances, water, atoms, etc. Still speculative and philosophical. No formal method of testing, no enforced exclusion of the supernatural, no system of falsifiability. This is metaphysical speculations about reality. Now, methodological naturalism, modern science, formalized through developments associated with figures like Francis Bacon and later refined in scientific institution. A rule of method, not a belief about reality. You see, these are the two distinctions between methodological naturalism and natural philosophy. Natural philosophy had a belief system, still a belief system, whereas methodological naturalism is a foundation for applying a particular method, the scientific method. Explicitly excludes supernatural explanation in practice, requires testability, falsifiability, reproducibility, peer review. Again, required. This is the discipline in epistemology. Testability, falsifiability, reproducibility, peer review. Discipline epistemological framework. It's a framework. Methodological naturalism is a philosophical constraint on how we investigate reality. What it says, only natural causes are allowed in explanation. No appeal to the supernatural agents, no divine interventions, non-testable forces are excluded. And this develops much, much later, not in the 5th and 6th century BCE, gentlemen, not by a long shot. Let's go. What it does, it sets boundaries, it sets the boundaries of inquiry, defines what counts as a valid explanation. It answers what kind of explanations are allowed. This is what we're talking about. This is methodological naturalism. Nothing else. This is science. Nothing else. Now, the scientific method versus science. Scientific method is these tools. Now, within the framework of methodological naturalism, that framework, which has a set of rules that define it, you also that produces the scientific method. The scientific method is a set of practices used to investigate within that framework. So you have methodological naturalism is a framework within which you operate. No supernatural, no non-testable agents, and there must be a there. This is how that works. That's a framework. Now, that framework produces the scientific method. And this is where people get confused a lot. The core elements, observation, hypothesis formation, experimentation, measurement, replication, peer review. It answers how we actually investigate and test ideas. This is the system, the operating system. This is the execution part of a framework. Methodological naturalism is the framework. Sometimes that word is used interchangeably. Methodological naturalism with the scientific method. You have to know the material to understand in which context these words are being used. But the scientific method is the execution part. Observation, hypothesis formation, experimentation, measurement, replication, peer review. That helix that continues to go round and round and grow. That's what this is. Cast and compare the framework, methodological naturalism, the method of application, the scientific method, the philosophical foundation versus the practical procedures. The philosophical framework sets the constraints. The method executes the investigation to within those set constraints. It defines the system, the framework, defines allowed causes. While as the scientific method sets specific claims within that framework. It most naturally must come first. The framework must come first. That paradigm shift that created the framework called methodological naturalism must come first. And then you're going to get the operating system. Scientific method operates within that framework. You cannot have science without methodological naturalism. I'm going to say it again. You cannot have science without methodological naturalism. But you can have methodological naturalism without a full scientific method. Early thinkers rejected supernatural explanations, right? Proto methodological naturalism tendencies. Proto means before it is there, but we're seeing the tendencies, but we're not there yet. But they lacked controlled experiment, systematic testing. So no, it's not science yet. Just ain't there yet. They used natural explanations, therefore they were doing science, Jeff. Because every time you guys learn a little bit something, you hold on to it even more and more and more and more. For no reason. They use natural explanations, therefore they were doing science. That's wrong. Using natural explanations is a necessary condition. Using the scientific method is sufficient condition for science. Methodological naturalism is the foundation, not the finished structure. The method developed over time. Methodological naturalism is the rule that says no supernatural moves allowed. The scientific method is how we actually play the game once we accept the rules. Notice the distinction. Understand these terminologies if you're going to engage in this discussion. The scientific method is a toolkit for investigating reality, but methodological naturalism is the philosophical commitment that makes those investigations coherent, testable, and non supernatural. Confusing the two is like confusing the rules of chess with the strategies used to play the game. Y'all making these rudimentary errors in your reasoning. Wow. Scientific is an adjective. It describes something that is that resembles or uses elements of science. So you're hearing, yeah, but they were very scientific, and they were scientific. Does that mean they were practicing science? No. It can refer to methods, data collection, measurements, language, technical jargon, appearance, chart formulas, lab coats. But none of that guarantees it's actually science. I keep saying that. I apply the scientific method in labs daily. Yet, I am not a scientist, and I'm not doing quote unquote science. I'm doing applied science. It's technology. Science is a structured epistemic system grounded in methodological naturalism. Systematic use of the scientific method, institutional practices, peer review, replication, and falsifiability. So if the ancients were very scientific, doesn't mean they were practicing science. Science is not just what looks scientific, it's what meets these criteria: systematic use of the scientific method, institutional practices, peer review, replication, and falsifiability. That simply is what it is. So when something is scientific, people starting to read these days, Pseudokillas got everybody talking science, and these words are confusing y'all because you're not used to engaging in these dialogue. So you read scientific and you automatically assume that it is science. That is wrong. Faulty reasoning. Again, science is a structured epistemic system grounded in methodological naturalism. Systematic use of the scientific method, formal institutional practices, peer review, replication, and falsifiability. So something can be scientific, but if it is not within these criteria, if it is not adhering to these criteria, it simply isn't science. So again, something can appear scientific but fails at a deeper level. For example, astrology, it uses charts, calculations. There's no testable, they're not testable in any reliable way. Alchemy uses experimentation, but it lacks a theoretical rigor and modern methodology. Quantum healing, the woo, uses physics language, misapplies concept, not empirically grounded, sounds scientific, but doesn't make it science. Looks scientific, but doesn't make it science. This is where y'all get hoodwinked. You see a lab coat, you hear some jargon, and automatically you assume that you're dealing with science. No, you're not. Let's look at the distinctions. Scientific is a descriptive label. The ancients were very scientific in how they collected their data. Doesn't mean that they were doing science. Science is an epistemic system. Surface level traits, data collection, observations. Scientific isn't science. Science is a deep methodological structure. These are limited. The ancients did observations. They had no equipment, no tools. It was purely by sight. Here now, in science, it requires rigor, peer review, falsification, retesting, hypothesis. And when you use the word scientific, it can be very misleading. Smoke and mirrors. But if you're dealing with science, you're dealing with something that it must be testable and reproducible. Fundamental differences in conceptualization here. Get these differences, right? I hear the bait and switch in the conversations. JJ is going out of his mind. Scientific doesn't mean they're practicing science, though. Chef, they're very scientific doesn't mean they were practicing science, though. Why y'all so emotional in this conversation? Beats the hell out of me. Calling something scientific doesn't make it science. Just like using math doesn't make astrology astronomy. Science isn't about appearance, ladies and gentlemen. It's about method, constraints, and verification. It's simple, really. That take emotions out of the conversation and understand what's being presented in front of you. Y'all entered the ring, enter into this conversation on the heels of the Psuedokillas and good brother addressing this subject. And at the end of the day, y'all were not ready. Y'all just want to be oppositional to be opposition. Ancient practices can look scientific. Jeff, Islamic optics, Greek philosophy, Egyptian techniques, impressive, rational, but without full methodological naturalism, systematic experimentation, institutional validation, they are proto-scientific, not science in the modern sense. Proto, but y'all didn't want the word proto. Okay, so they simply wasn't practicing science. I'm good with that because they weren't. But it is proto-scientific. That's it. It is what it is. Again, and look scientific doesn't make it science. They are proto-scientific, ladies and gentlemen, not science in the modern sense. Science in the modern sense requires methodological naturalism as its framework. Then you have the scientific method, systematic experimentation, and the peer review and falsification process. That's it. Short, quick, sweet. Wasn't gonna be here too long. Just every time we get these little issues
Welcome
going,
to Set Talks.
I think it's important to address.
Mess it up with every time. This that set talk, yeah, we set it straight. Cut through the noise, elevate the debate. No pseudo talk, no foggy claims, just evidence based.
Trying to have these conversations with individuals that simply don't get it, don't understand the subject, and they're confusing the community based on their emotions. And so I'm gonna do these little presentations. Maybe I'll get it. I'll highlight and illustrate the flaws in the reasoning. Most people are doing the category error. They are engaging in presentism, and they are being anachronistic views. Right? Too much emotion in the conversation. Trying to discredit people is just bringing the information accurately into that. So no methodological naturalism practiced in the 5th and 6th century BC. That's nonsense. Not even close. So anybody coming to you with that nonsense, run them out of the building. They don't know what they're talking about. When you see the adjectives being put in front of the word science, when you see the adjectives being put in front of the word science, big, science, modern, science, crisis, science, is someone who is not really prepared for the conversation and engaging at a very rudimentary level. They want to have a conversation at a high academic level, and they are pontificating with using certain vocabularies. However, it is clear that they don't know what the subject is. With that, folks, I'm going to check out. Be probably back today sometime later on the God Killer, or with the Community of Skeptics, or with the Psuedokillas. We'll probably do this presentation again. Training ground we do here. Thank you for watching. Don't forget to subscribe, like, and share. And with that, I'm out.